I baked with my mom from when I was 4. I started out by scooping the ingredients. When we got to the brown sugar, I would always steal a pinch, since it was the only time I got to taste that unique molassesy sweetness. Later, I observed and learned how to cook full meals. And I cooked my first dinner for my family when I was about 10. Spaghetti with a homemade ground beef sauce that was little more than canned tomatoes, oregano, powdered garlic, and usually a glug of red wine that made it smell delicious and sophisticated as the alcohol burned off. I had no originality, of course, just doing it the way my parents had showed me. Soon, I had 3 recipes in my repertoire as I added in chili and roasted steak. These recipes were not hard, but that was part of my parents' brilliance. Once they had seen me succeed a couple of times, they didn't need to supervise me. As soon as I was tall enough to easily reach the stove, they could let me cook without even being in the room. I don't know if I particularly enjoyed cooking, but I definitely liked the feeling of responsibility that came with it. When I was 15 and told my mom that I wanted to try vegetarianism, she laughed. I don't hold this against her. Did you notice that my first 3 recipes were all beef? Even a little older at 15, the only vegetable I would happily eat was a Caesar salad. And I demanded meat at every meal. But despite her initial skepticism, she was very supportive in me giving it a try. She took me shopping so we could fill the freezer with imitation meat, which is how I survived for the transitional few months as I slowly built up a taste for more vegetables and beans. She also made a hard left turn in her own dinner planning, as she was still cooking most of the meals. Rather than having to ensure that there was always an option for the kid who demanded meat and refused to touch most vegetables, she ensured that there was always an option for the vegetarian kid who didn't like vegetarian food. This change in diet motivated me to get deeper into cooking. And my mom, who had been flexitarian before I was born and before that word existed, showed me her favorite recipes in her Moosewood vegetarian cookbooks. All of this prepared me for one of the highest pressure parts of my college experience. No, not the finals, or the term papers, or the job interviews, or the student group leadership. It was the year that I lived in a campus co-op and was given a weekly dinner shift. 4 of us had under 3 hours to prepare a meal for our 60 hungry housemates. And in a small bit of cosmic revenge, I did not get into one of the vegetarian co-ops. So despite having been a vegetarian for about half a decade at this point, I always had to ensure that there was a meat option and a vegetarian option. The 4 of us on the cooking shift would rotate who was the head cook every week, setting the menu and managing the day. And it was stressful, especially if we fell behind, which is easy to do. Do you know how long it takes to chop 20 onions? Don't forget to budget 3 minutes to wash your hands and put a Band-Aid on, because the odds of a moment where you lose focus and make a mistake are quite high. I always looked forward to those cooking shifts, though. In the midst of the overwhelming and often abstract world of learning linear algebra, computer algorithms, and existentialist philosophy, it was nice to have an afternoon where I was forced to take a break from my studies and work as a team on a concrete task with a clear end state and no real consequences if things didn't go to plan. And cooking still serves that role for me. It is engrossing and physical enough to focus my often frantic mind and calm any anxious or upset emotions that I have. And it all started on a stool in the kitchen, measuring brown sugar with my mom, making chocolate chip cookies.